But this one story, my grandma told me this. My grandfather was cantankerous old guy. Didn't like to go to church, and Grandma did. She loved Jesus. And you know, when you went to Grandma's house, you didn't spit, dip, or chew, and you'd go to church. You know, you just did. And she would take Grandpa. The grandkids are there. What are you going to do, Grandma, Grandpa? You go, because the grandkids are there. You go. He didn't want to go, and he'd fall asleep, and she'd elbow him, and the whole thing, you know. But he became ill, ended up in the hospital. And, I mean, he was on his just moments from passing. And he looked up at the ceiling, and he says, Nellie, my grandmother's name, Nellie, do you see them? See what, Harry? The angels. Do you see the angels up there? Do you see angels, Harry? Yes. And then he looked to the wall over here, and his face lit up. He looked back to my grandmother. My grandmother's telling me this. He looked back to her and says, do you see him? See who? You know him. Do you see Jesus, Harry? And he died. Oh. Listen, it's real. It's real. Even at the 11th hour, it is real. Lord, remember me today. You know, it is real. But we all suffer, do we not? Now, so the olive tree is this symbol of Israel and the church. But the olive tree is evergreen. Did you know that? They never lose their leaves. They keep their leaves all year round. And this is, listen, this is the symbol, symbolic of God's everlasting covering. Everlasting covering. God protects, He provides, He watches over His people. Psalm 91, I wrote a little book on that, and it's in a chapter of another book now. And listen, when I sign my letters, those of you that receive correspondence from me, I'll say, shalom and blessings. Until He comes, we are together under His wings. The children, the blessing of the children, the Yeladim. Oh, listen. You know, the fringes, the tzitzit, they're also called wings, and I know you know that. We are together like the children were this morning under His wings. We are protected by His covering. Now listen, the Lord never said that we would not struggle or we would not experience difficult moments. He never said that. He says when you experience those times, He'll be with us. We'll talk about that here in a few moments. But when you experience trouble or pain, being struck by life's challenges, He watches over us. And He produces fruit in us. The olive is useless unless it has been beaten, struck, traumatized, pressed over and over and over again, and then this precious oil comes forth. It's a metaphor for Israel and the church. Israel's fruit bore the revelation of the Messiah to the world. This is why you're sitting here this morning. Eventually, Israel will experience a complete national restoration when they come to faith in Messiah. It's just right around the corner. Listen, it's beginning now. Did you know there's a revival going on in Israel? Young people are coming to faith in Yeshua. And since this war, listen. Remember me saying I was there in March and had the escorts to the front lines. There were two questions that people were asking me. Listen to this. These are Israelis. These are people, most of whom who do not know the Lord. Half of who we work with are non-believers in Israel. The other half are believers. You know what the IDF soldiers asked me more than once? They know me. They know what I believe. They said, do you think this is the beginning of Gog and Magog? Oh. And the other question that was asked of me, again from non-believers whom we work with, some of our friends, we know they're connected to the Knesset and all of this. Anyway, they would ask us, why does the world hate us so? And you may recall it only took the media 1 month, October, the attack. In November, if you go back and you read the headlines, they started to blame Israel. If Israel did this, that wouldn't have happened. If Israel did that, this would have happened. Then it only took the world 9 months in the so-called International Criminal Court to condemn Israel.